lot of people have been asking me what I've been up to, how I've been working on my full show, how I've been working on Friendly Freddy and Fats. What have I been doing? Well, right now I'm actually back at my house and I'm working on some projects for customers. So as you can see back here, we've got a fully restored Billy Bob and Looney Bird, mint condition, perfect, and they are going to a customer. They're going to be set up and they're going to run. So those are finished. Right now, I've got this other character, and I'll give you guys a couple seconds to possibly figure out what this might be and where it might have come from. So this is the Billy Bob that I had that was in terrible condition. It sat outside for about 10 to 15 years, and during that time just got destroyed. It got thrown around, welds broken off on the mouth. Just about every single steel piece was rusty, and I really thought the character was almost unsalvageable. Thought I was going to be able to salvage, a couple pieces off of it. Mostly the aluminum pieces, those main pieces I would be able to save. But it turns out that actually a lot of the steel pieces cleaned up really well too. And so about 80% of this character is going to be original, which is pretty crazy. So as you can see, I've really taken this and cleaned it off. And how I did that was I took every single component apart, everything. I took the head turn mechanism apart, took the roll pin out, took out these pieces, really took apart everything down to the bare pieces. This frame piece, I took the legs off, took the body lean cylinder off. I took every single cylinder off. I took off all the clevises off the cylinders, took the E hinges apart, everything, every single component. This character was in 150 pieces. So took the character apart, figured out what needed to be replaced, and I realized, I was like, wow, a lot of these pieces can actually be cleaned up. So you can see pieces like this, these rods. This is the arm raise rod, arm twist rod, head turn rod. All these cleaned up so well. Things that couldn't be saved were things like set collars. I replaced all the set collars. There were a couple that might have been salvageable, but I wasn't going to risk, having those already rusty and nearly destroyed set collars, get stuck on there again. So I just figured take them off, got everything apart, and as you can see, actually back here, these are the original cylinders. And I actually got some new cylinders thinking that these were going to be bad, but to be honest, every single cylinder in this character was rebuildable. Every single cylinder still had functionality, and so I just took them and rebuilt them, and every single one works. Now, there were two exceptions, which was the guitar raise cylinder. Unfortunately, that cylinder was bent, and my attempts to bend it back didn't work, so I replaced it with this Chicago air cylinder, which is slightly newer than these brass cylinders and valve cylinders. In case you guys want to know the brands for these, so this is the actual brand for this is called Cylinders and Valves, which I think it's not exactly the best name whenever you're talking to people and telling them, get cylinders and valves cylinders. That initially I was like, is that really the name? But it is. So I just call them C&V cylinders. And these are the original cylinders that they used up until late 1982. And in my opinion, these are superior, but they do have a couple downsides. They're a bit heavier, although that's, a small downside. So, this cylinder isn't all that different from the other ones. But, yeah, and then the other exception was the mouth cylinder, which was also bent and severely rusted. It was a Chicago air cylinder, which may be the cause for it being rusty, because all of the C&V cylinders were still good. The rods had no rust on them whatsoever, and I opened them up. They were still even usable even if I didn't rebuild them. But I'm not going to take risks there, and so I rebuilt all of those cylinders. You can see right now Billy Bob's missing his head. He's missing his arm. Those were the pieces that needed to be sent away for repair because I don't have the resources to weld back on the mouth lever bars, or there was a couple issues with the arm that needed to be worked out, so I sent those to a good friend, and he's repairing those for me. So, this is going to a fan, and I'm going to let that fan, reveal themselves if they want to, because I don't know if they want to stay private or not. But yeah, I'm working on this for them. It's funny, and I think that people should know this. Whenever I first got my first Mitzi about 5 years ago, I was overwhelmed with the complexity of the characters. I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to restore these characters. They're way too overly complex. And for the first, 6 months of having her, I used a bike pump to, run the air cylinders, even using Lego pneumatics to try to get different cylinders to work. So, I was just perplexed. I didn't understand how the cylinders work. But over time, as I took them apart, as I worked on more and more, I really began to understand the engineering and talent that went into these characters. Creative Engineering hired some of the best engineers that they could. I've spoken with Bo Sherman. He is the guy who did a lot of the Rocket Fire Explosion mechanical work. Just a lot of. He actually created the E-hinge here, which is used in every single character and is really versatile. And he created a lot of other designs, but the measures Creative Engineering took to make sure these characters were resilient and rebuildable. Ease of manufacturing. You have so many interchangeable pieces that they used in every single character. Of course, what is most important is ease of maintenance. They made these characters so easy to maintain. And after taking apart these characters, restoring so many, it perplexes me that 3 stages and Rocket Fire Explosions, even in the Showbiz days, were in such terrible shape. But, there's only so much Creative Engineering could do. They can engineer the best Rocket Fire Explosion character, the most easy to maintain Rocket Fire Explosion character, and still, if nobody maintains it, it's going to turn out badly. And that's what you see in 3 stages. But if there's not a good tech, there's not a incentive to repair the show, it's not going to get done, and the stage is going to get into a stage of disrepair. And even though Showbiz did incentivize the repair of the shows still weren't maintained. You can go and look at videos of Showbiz's from 1985-86 and see that, you still got a lot of movements that are out on the characters. And why is that? That's because, it is acceptance of kind of mediocrity and, a little bit of laziness. If a movement goes out that you think most people won't notice, let's say head tilt left on Billy Bob goes out, and you say, well, nobody's going to know that. Before you know it, it's going to be 5 movements, and then it's going to be 10 movements, and that's really what's happened. You can't control 280 Showbiz restaurants and make sure that they have the show in perfect shape, and that's why almost all stages fell into disrepair, and why people claim these characters are hard to work on. But yeah, I'm waiting to get a head and an arm back on this character. I'm having a good friend repair them because fortunately I don't have the resources to weld aluminum or bend some pieces back. So those are going to be repaired, and pretty soon this Billy Bob is going to be complete again, fully running. You can see I've got the quick disconnects already ready. For airlines, and all the cylinders are ready to go. So waiting on that, but yeah, this character restoration has really taught me a lot. Probably the most of any character restoration I've ever done, because it's taught me that pretty much every single piece on these characters is savable. This is really the worst of the worst. This is the worst possible situation I think that could happen to a Rocket Fire Explosion character, in my opinion and in my experience. This character was left outside for 15 years. I can't really imagine a worse circumstance. He was thrown around. Whenever I got him, he was just laying on the floor, and I imagine they just let him drop. And he just, hit the ground. He had a lot of bent pieces, but all of that was fixed. And all the aluminum pieces are good. Even, I said most of the steel pieces would need to be replaced, but even that actually wasn't true. All these rods were good. You can see how shiny this is, polished. And this was once like super rusty, but now it's perfect. And, those pieces I thought were all going to have to be replaced, but they didn't. And all the cylinders are good, everything. It's really amazing. These characters are really built like tanks. They were built to be maintained. And, although they seem complex at first, Once you take them apart, it's really apparent they made these characters simple to repair and restore, and um, yeah. So I'll continue to work on this guy. I'll continue to send out updates and show you guys what I'm doing. I've got a couple other characters, Fats and the Duke over here that I'm repairing. Fats is going to the same customer as Billy Bob and Looney Bird. Of course, this Billy Bob's going to someone different, but I'll let them reveal if they want to. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Hopefully, I'll be working on the main show soon. I'm also working on my 3 characters that I have that I took to the Maker Faire. You guys know Funtown Mountain, Mitzi and Billy Bob, and then Fats from South Africa. I'm still working on them, making a couple cosmetic changes. I mean, they're mechanically about 100%, but I'm making a couple cosmetic changes and fixing them up in that regard. So yeah, I'll continue to update you guys in the future. And if you guys have any questions about restoring these characters, just let me know. They built these characters to be restored. So yeah, I'll continue to update you guys, and yeah.